Well, hello, everyone. This message is designed in particular for our U16 athletes next season, which would be our 08 and 09 birth year athletes. Also some remarks near the end of our Alberta Winter Games update, in particular for 07s. Just I wanted to pass along some messages to that group as well if they're interested in Alberta Winter Games. Okay, so first up, U16C. So Ring It Alberta did accept a number of recommendations from a tiering policy review committee that they formed. And it's less about U16C and more about this table, whereby that committee would have used a driving principle of it's wonderful if up to 75% of provincial athletes have an opportunity to compete at provincials. That was not the case for U16B last year. Anyone who was either aware of or part of that division would have known that only 33% of U16B athletes from the Black Gold League had a chance to compete at provincials, 5 of the 15 teams that made up that division. What it boiled down to was there was just a significant volume of U16 teams. An extra tier, a C division, would have helped create more opportunity for provincial competition for those athletes. Also, it would have been noticed, especially when you get some of these teams that are from one team associations, they often have a significant range of skill set on their team. They'll have players that might even be AA, if not A-level caliber, on the ice with players that maybe have only previously played U14 and U12C, and it creates a very wide talent disparity, which happens when you have larger populations of players. So it would be another reason why U16C would be a good idea that Ring It Alberta decided to pursue. Next steps, Ring It Alberta asked their statistician, the same person that helps them with UAAs every year, to collaborate with the Tiering Policy Review Committee to recommend to associations based on historical data that it would make sense for these associations to form U16C teams, and we're all waiting that information. We'll do our best to keep you fully informed. Monita Chapman, our amazing age director for U16, will every age director is busy. Monita in particular will be communicating and collaborating with the support of myself and other board members on this topic and our next topic, which is Alberta Winter Games, which are being held in Grand Prairie in February. And Ring It Alberta has made some decisions around how they are going to organize that competition. They would have had a call for association presidents not too long ago to just walk through some of the written information that has been produced in the last couple of months. And I'll take that through as best I can with you now. It is a fluid discussion, so I sincerely hope everything I'm providing is accurate and up to date. And I will, and Monita will, communicate if and when changes occur. But here is where we are as it stands today. So the competition will feature 8 teams. Those teams will be formed of 15 players as well as 2 goalies. You'll notice on the left there are some zone information. If you're not familiar with zones, you can look at Ring It Alberta's website and find a listing. What Ring It Alberta decided to do was end the process of having 1 team per zone. It led to a very wide range of skill levels because the larger associations and zones, could form significantly strong teams. Some zones were only 1 team in a very distant area with maybe not a ton of athletes, and it led to non-competitive play. So what they've decided to do is these 8 teams will actually be mixed up of players from all throughout the province. How they're going to go about this is they're going to hold Ring It Alberta driven evaluations, and they'll do it as consistently as they can throughout the province. Their goal will be to take a minimum of 10 players per zone. I have an asterisk there because they're taking 75% of players that choose to evaluate. So if in a smaller zone, only say 8 athletes decide to put their hand up, they're not going to take all 8. They'll take 75% of that number. So to have 10 players, I believe they need 12 or 13. Also decided was it will not include AA athletes. Ring It Alberta's part of the justification they shared was AA athletes do have other opportunities for high levels of competition, whether it's Le Relève or Westerns and onto CRCs. So just they made the decision not to include AA athletes. It will exclusively be A, B, and C level athletes that are eligible to evaluate. Evaluates will be run in, I believe they said late October, early November. What they're going to do then is after the teams are formed, so the 8 coaches randomly draft, I shouldn't say randomly, they draft 8 teams from all these players across the province, the minimums per zone, followed by the next grouping of highest rated athletes based on evaluations. And then they'll form the teams, and then after the draft, they will get assigned a team, which will motivate the coaches to draft as equal a teams as possible because they won't know which one they're coaching. Excuse me. And obviously, there'll be lots of online connectivity for these teams. They'll be formed of athletes all across the province. And Ring at Alberta talked about holding a training weekend in somewhere like a Red Deer in perhaps January around 3rd, 4th, 5th. And that would give these teams a chance to get on the ice for practice together, have some exhibition games leading up to the competition in Grand Prairie in February. Also, the reason to have 08-09 birth year athletes, U16, it will allow the leagues and association to plan as best they can around this by only having it eligible for U16 players. It didn't affect the other age levels. And then I don't want to overlook, Ring at Alberta was pretty clear with the pandemic pause. It meant as they restarted this competition, which occurs every 2 years, it meant a birth year would be feeling left out, and that is our 07. So certainly wanted to empathize with those 07 athletes and families. It just kind of the way everything fell out of these decisions, it does have them not able to participate this year, and I don't believe they would have had an opportunity to participate in the last Alberta Winter Games. Ring at Alberta kind of signaled that no matter what decision they made, it would have had a birth year feeling that way. If they welcomed 07s to compete, it would have likely come at the expense of the 09s, maybe some 08 spots, and those athletes won't be eligible for the next Winter Games when Ring at Alberta would say that will be for the 2010-2011 birth year. So one of those things that I empathize, you make a decision if you're Ring at Alberta, you're not going to satisfy everyone, and that was the situation. So just wanted to pass along my empathy for those 07 athletes, and just one of those things that comes out of the pandemic. All right, well, whether it's Alberta Winter Games, U16C, or anything else, please reach out if you have any questions, comments, feedback. Do my best, our best, to respond, or at a minimum, add some comments. Really appreciate your listening. Hope your summer's going well, and we'll see you back at the rink shortly. Take care. Bye for now.